Born amongst a race of bloodthirsty Saiyans, Yamoshi knew that his people were destined for more. Hoping to ignite change himself, Yamoshi and 5 of his comrades started a rebellion, but they failed. However, in the same way death has never been enough to stop Goku, death is only a speed bump in Yamoshi's plan. What's up guys, my name is Dooley, and today I will be discussing why Dragon Ball Super is likely the story of Yamoshi completing his goal of reforming the Saiyan race. Imagine this for a second. Imagine you find yourself in an environment where everyone around you is heading down the wrong path. It's clear as day to you and maybe a few of your selected friends, but the majority of others are either unaware or choose not to care. Beyond that, when you voice your concerns and take action to hopefully correct this destructive path, there is pushback from the vast majority. This is exactly the position Yamoshi found himself in 1,000 years before the events of Dragon Ball Super. But pushback was not enough to kill Yamoshi's ambitions, not even close. He recognized that power and status were 2 of the most important things to members of his race, and became absorbed in showing them that there is a different path to these goals. It wasn't long before Yamoshi learned Saiyans of his time recognized that rage, ruthlessness, and the moonlight could significantly raise their battle power. But thanks to his dedication, it didn't take long for Yamoshi to learn that this way of thinking only scratches the surface of what Saiyans are actually capable of. A Saiyan with a righteous heart and a non-self-centered way of thinking tend to produce more of what Yamoshi called S-cells. These cells were at the core of a Saiyan's true power. With enough S-cells, the Saiyan race can go from this scavenger mercenary group to a true example of power and prestige. A Saiyan fueled by S-cells could wield power that no single Saiyan could have ever imagined. Powers that ascend strength and combat level. Supernatural powers. With enough of these cells unique to the Saiyan race. Saiyan cells. S-cells. All Saiyans can ascend normality. They can all become super. They can all become Super Saiyans. But Yamoshi's findings didn't stop there. He learned that there were beings that existed in his universe beyond mortals, deities, angels, and gods. These beings wielded powers beyond that of regular ki, divine ki. Yamoshi wondered how the unique properties of S-cells would react if they were ever introduced to divine ki. He figured with enough energy from the minimum of at least 6 Super Saiyan, while in the presence of divine ki, Yamoshi hypothesized that members of the Saiyan race could ascend even beyond the Super Saiyan. They could ascend to a power that rivaled the gods themselves. Super Saiyan God. Excited to share his findings with the leaders of his race, Yamoshi and 5 of his closest comrades began a campaign to spread the word about this path to true power. Yamoshi slowly began to realize that his words were falling on deaf ears. Stuck in the ways of old, the leaders of his race were not accepting of his new finding. Not only that, they saw it as a threat, as teachings of the weak that would demotivate and weaken their soldiers and completely destroy the thing Saiyan valued the most: power. Because of this, the Saiyan leaders collectively decided that Yamoshi and his comrades needed to be executed. But not just a normal execution. They needed to be destroyed in a display of true power to crush all further talk of righteous hearts and S-cells. Yamoshi was quickly cornered by these leaders, but he attempted to make a deal. His life, in order for the lives of his comrades to be spared. Instead of this deal, what Yamoshi was offered was a front row seat in front of an army of Saiyans to watch each of his helpless comrades slaughtered one by one. With every death, he could feel his control slipping. He was losing his mind. The guilt was too much. It's because of him that these people were dying. Innocent people. This had to stop. Tell them to stop. Yamoshi remembered feeling the faint sensation of a tingling in his back. But at that point, he was too far gone to tell you if it was a battle wound or not. An uncontrollable ki erupted from inside of him. He remembers some of the soldiers trying to restrain him, yelling something about yellow hair, but they were dead before their words could register. He remembers thinking, in the end, I wasn't any different from them. Faint thoughts as he ripped through what felt like hundreds of soldiers. The same people that he wanted to save. The same people that he wanted to help ascend to new heights. He couldn't do this anymore. With thoughts of his comrades, with thoughts of his hypocrisy, he allowed his ki to fade, and in moments, he watched as members of his race rushed him, ever too eager to end his life. He remembered opening his eyes completely free of pain, almost as if waking up from a night's sleep. But how could this be? I should be dead, he thought, until he glanced around him. Suddenly, it all started rushing back to his mind. He is dead. Somehow his spirit had left his body but wasn't teleported to hell. That was thought to be common for all Saiyans. For some reason, he was still here. But why? For what purpose? Yamoshi studied his race for many years, decades, centuries, until time itself became an irrelevant concept to him. He watched as the Saiyans fought, won, and lost many wars. He watched the rise and fall of many Saiyan leaders and witnessed the rise to power of a tyrant alien named Frieza. When Saiyans began regularly traveling to other worlds to conquer them, Yamoshi at times visited some of these worlds. This is where he learned that there were beings in the universe that were more spiritual than the typical Saiyan. And so, even in the form of a spirit, he could communicate with some of these beings. Faintly, but enough that they could understand his presence and his intentions. One of these beings was a Namekian who called himself the Elder Guru. Yamoshi told his story to the Elder Guru, who empathized and decided to record their conversation in the Namekian Book of Legends. In return for his story, the Elder Guru told Yamoshi more about the deities in their universe. The Kais, the god of destruction, Beerus, and his angel, Whis. Yamoshi pondered this information for many decades as he monitored the Saiyan race. He saw glimpses and stood witness to the lives of many interesting Saiyans. One in particular was a Saiyan not too different from himself. His name was Bardock. Bardock had a righteous heart and attempted to lead the Saiyans in a revolt against Frieza, but he was unsuccessful. Yamoshi watched as his race was almost completely wiped out by Frieza. By chance, Bardock's son managed to escape this annihilation. An infant Saiyan who was launched to a planet where he was one day expected to grow up and conquer. Maybe it's because of the lack of influence from other members of the Saiyan race, or maybe this Saiyan could have just bumped his head as a child. Either way, Yamoshi noticed uncanny similarities between this Saiyan and himself. A Saiyan with a righteous heart. A Saiyan who valued peace, life, and love. His name was Kakarot, but his friends on his new planet called him Goku. It didn't take long for Yamoshi to realize that Goku was special. In battle after battle, Goku proved himself to be the most unique Saiyan Yamoshi had observed over his centuries of wandering. Goku even managed to defeat Frieza and was the first in 1,000 years to achieve the Super Saiyan form again. Goku gave Yamoshi hope. This is it, he thought. This is the reason why I am still here. To witness the recreation and ascension of the Saiyan race. To finish the goal that my comrades and I gave our lives for. Yamoshi recognized that Goku was the Saiyan to finally make this dream a reality. But even with his immense ki, Super Saiyan power alone wasn't enough. Yamoshi remembered his theory about Super Saiyan God. Maybe it's Goku. Maybe Goku is the one to unlock powers to rival the gods themselves, but in order to do that, he will need to be in the presence of divine ki. Yamoshi pondered, how can he introduce Goku to divine ki? And then it struck him. One of the things he learned from the Elder Namekian was that Beerus was a god of destruction who enjoyed the thrill of battle as much as Saiyans did. Not only that, Beerus was a god of destruction who enjoyed sleeping for decades, sometimes centuries, at a time. And this was convenient for Yamoshi because living beings were always closer to the spirit world and easier to communicate with while they were asleep. So Yamoshi appeared in a dream of the god of destruction. He appeared in the dream of Beerus the Destroyer himself. His goal was to show Beerus the power of a Super Saiyan God and entice him into believing that a Super Saiyan God would be a rival that allowed him to experience the thrill of battle once again. Luckily, Yamoshi's plan worked. Beerus the Destroyer awoke, and for some reason his mind was captivated with the thought of seeking out the Super Saiyan God. Yamoshi was concerned about how he could best convey the message of transforming into a Super Saiyan God to Goku, but luckily the information that his friend, the Elder Namekian, wrote in the Namekian Book of Legends was revealed by Shenron, and while in the presence of Divine Ki, Goku and 5 other righteous Super Saiyans were able to properly perform the ritual to allow Goku to become the first Saiyan ever to ascend to Super Saiyan God. Yamoshi watched as one of his dreams became reality. It was beyond anything he had ever expected. Here stood a Saiyan with Divine Ki, a Saiyan who was also a god. Yamoshi was even more impressed to watch Goku fight on par with Beerus the Destroyer, but it was too much. At one point in his fight with the god of destruction, Goku's body gave out. He was ready to give up, and in that moment, maybe because he was close to death himself, Yamoshi realized he could speak with Goku. "Don't give up," he said. "Keep on pushing even higher." The fight with Goku and the God of Destruction ended, and although Goku was not able to defeat Beerus, Beerus was so impressed with Goku's power that he not only spared the Earth, but he had little objection to watching his angel, Whis, train Goku to achieve even higher heights. While monitoring Goku, Yamoshi learned some incredible news. Although the Saiyans from Universe 7 were mostly wiped out, there existed Saiyans in another universe. Saiyans with righteous hearts. Is this where his dream and what he died for will finally be fully realized? In this new place, this new universe, on this new planet, this planet Sadala?